Hi there, Ashley L. Jones here, author of Modern Cast Iron. As you know, I'm working on a follow-up book called Skilletheads, and we're going to focus on the collecting and restoring of cast iron. So it only makes sense that I reach out to those cast iron manufacturers. So today I have with me Mr. Isaac Morton of Smithey Ironware, if you can believe that. So thank you so much for coming on today, Isaac.
You
This is
bet.
awesome.
Happy to be here.
Yes. So I think we were just, before I started recording, we were just about to jump in how you got started doing Smithy. And I cannot wait to hear this because it just blows my mind how someone can go from, normal life to cast iron manufacturer. So how did this happen?
Yeah, it happened. It was a hobby. I mean, I collected old cast iron cookware. I would refinish it. I'd give it to friends and family. I'd find these old pieces on eBay. I'd find them at flea markets, and most were rusty and caked with like years of nasty seasoning, and I'd finish them in my garage, really in my backyard. And it started, with a grinder, and then I kind of said, well, this isn't the best way to do it. I'll use some lye or some soap, or I'll burn it off, or I'll use electrolysis. There's lots of different ways to remove old seasoning or rust, but I would, finish these pieces. I'd give them to my friends and family for wedding presents, birthdays, etc. And everybody loved them. And I got into it, and I got the blue books, the Griswold and Wagner books, and started to sort of learn about when these different pieces were made and what made them special, because I just loved their sort of finished, polished, machine finished surfaces. I thought they were great pieces of cookware. So anyways, long ways of saying I would give them to friends and family. Everybody loved them, and I thought, well, there's a lot more to vintage cookware than I thought, and maybe there's an opportunity to make modern cookware in a vintage style, and so that's what brought me to founding Smithy more than anything.
And I'm talking to a lot of what I call skillet heads, and there are so many people who are intrigued by especially the vintage cast iron, and they're doing the same thing you're doing. They're researching the differences and what they like and what they don't like. And there's so much out there, where people argue the merits of smooth surface versus textured surface and so on.
Yeah.
But you took it from an interest and a hobby to manufacturing cast iron. I mean, what was your job before you did this? What was your
I was
life?
just not it's not in the manufacturing or really consumer branded business. I grew up in North Carolina. Graduated from college. I went to work for a bank in their training program, and so I learned business more from the investment and banking side of the world, and worked for a couple different companies that either managed investments or arranged for investments, and this was in corporate finance and in real estate, so very far away from cookware. Went back to graduate school, and went to work again in the sort of the real estate finance development world, and I just kind of stumbled into starting a business that happened to be a hobby. So that was a kind of a transition of going from one industry to another. But
That's amazing. Now,
yeah, they're very different, but there's some similarities in some ways to
well, it's a business.
what I did know.
It's a business. So if you had the business mind, did you learn the the trade of it, of being a smithy, or did you bring in people who had that knowledge and
I
expertise?
did, because we started really small. It was basically just me, and I had one other person, Stephen, he's still with us. He's our shift supervisor today. But I got to get at first on the design phase. I was working by myself with another industrial designer who I had sort of helped to, who I had hired to help me put together a design of a pan that I thought would be appealing. So that was that was the beginning, and then the kind of the I was grinding pans, I was seasoning pans, I was driving
Wow.
pans from place to place all over town. It seemed like early on, but we've kind of grown past that now. But yeah, it's been, that evolution has been going from really being like an entrepreneur and hustling and creating something, to then kind of bringing a team on to help. And we've certainly got that now. We've got, upwards of 20-25 people
Right.
now. So we've grown a lot. Yeah.
Now you still, I believe, operate more on a small batch basis. I mean, in comparison, the lodge can spit out thousands of cast iron a day.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
amazing.
They can,
So
hundreds of thousands. Yeah, we
yes,
can't do anything like that. Yeah, we're
right.
not set up. We're not set up for that. But we are. The goal for me and for our company is to create um, premium cookware and a vintage style for people that love to cook and for people that appreciate fine craftsmanship. And so to the extent we can do that to the world, I'll do that to, for anyone that wants it. Because I do believe that cast iron is a great, it's a great type of cookware. It lasts forever, and it's versatile, and it carries sort of this heirloom quality. It has a lot of memories that where cast iron's passed down from generation to generation. So it's a very special piece of cookware, and so that's to the extent that we can make it at Smithy, we'll do our best to keep that going. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I guess to back up a second there, the reason why this was even a hobby for you, there was a personal interest there to begin with. So was that because you had memories as a child, like most of us do down here in this?
Yeah, I do. It's funny you mentioned the South, because there's an interesting thing about cast iron that I'll touch on after I answer that. But my grandmother, yeah, like everybody's grandmother cooks on cast iron, it seems, and you have a memory or some sort of attachment to it through someone that had cooked on it for you at some point in your life, and then it's sort of that same piece becomes an heirloom that's passed on, or at a minimum, the memories are passed on. And so for me, it was my grandmother, but it's also my sister-in-law who gave me a old piece of cast iron that I thought, wow, this thing's really. As I'd grown up, I'd never really thought a lot about cast iron until she gave me that piece, and thought, wow, yeah, this is a really well built piece of cookware. It's beautiful. It's got interesting branding. It's functional. So that was sort of the hook for me. And then you have these memories from your past where you have people that cooked on cast iron with you or for you. In my case, with my grandmother. But you mentioned the South briefly there, and it's funny. Everybody thinks that cast iron is from the region where they grew up, but and
It is
you might be in Iowa, and you think cast iron is indigenous to Iowa, or you might be in California and you think cast iron is indigenous to California. And all our customers, it's really funny, they all believe that cast iron is sort of native to them, and it kind
not.
of speaks to the importance of it just in, I think, people's life as being kind of a tool that kind of reaches back to different memories that they associate with being regional. But the reality is, like, cast iron cookware is probably It's based in Ohio, New York, and some Alabama, where some of the bigger foundries were at the turn of the century, and before that, in England. It is interesting the way every region like kind of claims cast iron for its own.
I think that's a good point, that we personalize it because
Totally,
it's personal to us. Yeah.
it is, and you care about. It's kind of like your garden or your car or anything you build or maintain or care for, or your pet for that matter. Cast iron is something that you have to put a little bit more work into. Your steel pan or your aluminum pan, you don't have to really think about it. You just put it away and it's ready to
Yeah.
go. But with cast iron, you season it, you kind of care for it, you clean it a little carefully. Some people more carefully than others. So it becomes like a possession over time, and it can be kind of a love-hate possession. But once you get it right, then you love it. And I think that's one of the like redeeming things about cast iron, is that you personalize it because you put work into it.
Yeah, like anything. That's a great
Yeah.
point. Now, when you started Smithy, you said that you did some research, you worked with someone to create what's the perfect pan for you.
Yeah.
What did you have a specific brand that you based this off of, or certain brands that you kind of, amalgamated into this perfect pan, or how did it
Yeah,
start?
I did. So there's like the Erie #9 pan, which is like a turn of the 20th century, maybe even into the 1800s pan. It's one that I sort of based a lot of the early Smithy 10 and 12-inch pans after. And it has a wall that comes down, and actually the exterior wall forms a heat ring on the bottom. And it's like a very simple but visually kind of catchy shape. And I just love that pan. It's kind of it's kind of like the icon to me of what a cool piece of cast iron is. It has pour spouts. There's not a lot going on the underside of those, other than it's just like stamped with Erie. And this is a Griswold. Erie was preceded Griswold, and basically that was before they put their name Griswold on it. Erie, Pennsylvania is where that pan originated. But that's one that was kind of the icon to me. It sort of set up what we produced from a design perspective. And then some of the holes, we've got these 3 holes on the helper handle, which has become a bit more of a visual sign that distinguishes us. It's got some utility. I mean, you can hang on those holes, but there were some old Wagners that had 3 holes on the handle. And actually, when I first started Smithy, I put 3 little holes on the handle. It reduces weight, but it was just kind of a different look. And I've still got 1 or 2 of them around here. They were prototypes. I didn't finish those 3 holes out. But that was kind of a nod to some of the Wagner pans that if you look in that blue book, if people know what the blue book is, you can see some of them have that. But
okay. Now, there are several things that differentiate a Smithy pan, or that you can easily identify it in a store. And in fact, I had the good fortune of being able to cook on a Smithy recently. I participated in a cooking demo with Chef Lance McGinnis here in town, and the store is the Prepared Table, and they have this
Prepared
beautiful
Table,
display. They have a beautiful display of Smithy. So I got to play with some of it, and it is striking. And I'm going to put some pictures at the end of the video so folks can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. But you have this really nice coppery color to the pan when it comes off the shelf. Now, I understand that once you cook on that later, your own oils and fats will cook into that and it'll darken. But off the shelf is this beautiful coppery color. And it's also completely smooth. And I want you to tell us more about that. And then you use your logo, which is the California quail. And so on the pans, there's this beautiful little bird, this little quail that's stamped into the handle of the pans. And it's just that little bit of extra that it just stands out in a pan. And it's not feminine, but as I just like that it's a little bird. It's very cute.
Yeah. So the bird is, yeah, that's a California quail, or also a valley quail. I lived in San Francisco before I got in the cast iron world. I like to fish. I enjoy hunting, and the graphic designer that helped me put together the Smithey logo and Smithey as a name was a really close friend. We lived out in California at the same time. We wanted to create something that was basically a logo that was an edible animal. She had sketched out lots of different things, and I sort of saw that, and I was like, oh, that's great. That's actually when we lived in California together. I used to hunt those. They're really great game birds. It's catchy. It looks really, really nice. Let's put that on there. And so that's the story of how our logo came about. And it's been, when you see something, you really like it. And that was kind of the moment when I saw that logo. I thought, wow, this is a really solid logo.
It works.
No
And I like that you use it on, visually you can see it on the pan, whereas a lot of things are just on the bottom. And so it's just a little nice extra.
Yeah. We wanted to have it on both the bottom and the top, because we wanted to we want people to see that cool logo. And then the copper color, the copper color is actually, it's just the natural color that two or three layers of seasoning will turn when you put it on raw iron. So the black that we see in store shelves is more of a fabricated color. If you were to take a raw piece of cast iron and put oil on the surface and cook it or bake it at 475 degrees, you're generally going to get that copper shade, particularly on a more polished pan. So it's more of a reflective thing. As you cook on it, it turns dark, it turns black, and it goes black like any other pan.
And you use grapeseed oil to season?
We do, yeah. We use grapeseed oil. We get a lot of questions about grapeseed oil or about seasoning in general. I have come to the conclusion that the oil type is less important than the oil temperature. And we've tried a million different things. At the molecular level, there's some suggestion that grapeseed oil adheres to iron slightly better than other oils, and so we use it. But honestly, all that goes out the window once you start cooking on it, because you're not cooking on grapeseed oil all the time. So the best oils, or whatever oils you have, we don't recommend olive oil or butter for seasoning, but generally, if you're matching the smoke point of the oil, maybe a little bit above it, you're on the right track, and you're protecting the surface from oxidation. Basically, raw iron will when it's exposed to water or air, will start to rust, and you just want a really light coat over it to keep it from doing that. And as you cook on it with animal fat or vegetable fat, those fats get converted to carbon, and that carbon will adhere to the surface, and it creates a nice black surface over a pan.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Big question for you. Tell me about the polishing process. So do you use the hand milling where you're scraping the pan? I'm guessing you don't do that anymore, right? Where you're not actually taking a textured pan and making it a smooth pan.
Well, the polishing is, for us, polishing is a set of different processes. So it's
Okay.
grinding, it's grinding or shaping, there's
Okay.
scraping, it's machining where you're actually removing metal from a casting, and it's kind of blending and tumbling all of that as well. And so the result of that is more of a polished look. And so you're taking what is a raw casting, you're removing metal and you're grinding metal,
Okay.
and you're blending that metal to create a surface that that is naturally nonstick or very smooth. And so it's more polishing in the way that you might polish like a gem or something. It's different than
Okay.
that, but but it's kind of come to be known as polishing within the cast iron space. So,
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm curious how that's different with the different manufacturers, because I think each of us has a different idea of what polishing means. You know, you polish your shoes, you just put, you know, a cream on your shoes, you know, and then you
right,
polish
yeah,
rocks by tumbling. So that's interesting. So it's a number of different steps, and there is.
it's several different steps. Yeah, prior to seasoning, it's not part
Mhm.
of it's not part of the seasoning process.
So you do the polishing and then the seasoning, and then is that the last step, or is there?
Yeah, and then we package
Okay.
each pan from there. But yeah, it's a combination. The casting is a very important process, and then the finishing is the next process, and then the seasoning is the final, and then we
Mhm.
put them in our pretty green boxes and send them
And
out
then
the
you ship
door.
them out. Now,
Yeah,
where can folks find Smithy besides your website? And your website is smithey.com.
EY. Yeah,
So,
smithy.com.
mhm,
But you can buy our cookware at 150 to 200 stores around the country, all of which are on our website.
mhm,
Um, um, there are a few retailers online that also sell our cookware. They include Food 52, Huckberry, and Magnolia. I think those are the three. I hope I'm not missing anyone else. But um, most people are purchasing over our website, but we do have a national presence. So, and the best place to find out where we sell our which retailers we're in is on our website.
yeah, yeah. So
Um,
check that out. Now, couple additional interesting things about Smithy. You don't have typical lids for your cast iron pans, and so you use the griddle as a lid if you
well,
like.
yeah, so we have done that, right? Well, so we do have lids. So we've got lids on our two Dutch ovens. So we
For the
make a
Dutch
three and
oven.
a half quart
Mhm,
Dutch oven and a 5.5 quart Dutch
mhm.
oven. Sort of inside baseball secret is that the lid on the 5.5 quart Dutch oven does fit perfectly on our 10-inch skillet.
On the tin,
Um,
okay.
yes, it does. And then our our other lids are flat griddles that
Yeah,
we thought, well, we would have to really charge an awful lot of money for these lids there, and I'm not sure that people would want to buy lids quite as at that price. So let's make a lid more functional was the idea, and let's create a round griddle that will double as a lid. And so our griddle is a
mhm,
flat surface, great for pancakes or
yes.
panini sandwiches, eggs, whatever. Uh, Also doubles as a lid, so you just pick it up from one burner and put it on the
Yeah,
put it
yeah.
over.
I got to see that in action at the cooking demo. Chef Lance made, bacon wrapped asparagus on the griddle,
Yeah,
and, it all was beautiful. It was great.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was just a neat thing that people didn't realize, that it doubles as a lid and as a.
It does. It does. I think we could probably tell that story a little bit better. We show it on our website visually, but I don't know that people quite get it quite as well as I'd like them to.
Well, I
But
think it's
yeah,
pretty neat.
the flat round griddles double as lids, and
Yeah,
they're awesome.
yeah, yeah, they are. Okay, so next for Smithy. What's next? Do you have new styles coming out? Are you looking at expansion or just keeping up with your volume of sales? Where are you
Yeah,
at?
so we want to keep up. That's always important to keep up, which has been a struggle over the last few years, but we've done it. But our mission is to design and manufacture premium cookware, and for people that love to cook. And so where we can do that, we will. I've really wanted. I've expanded our line a lot. We've got a lot of new pieces. We've got a carbon steel line. I'd love
Yes.
to add to the continue to add to that. Those are just they're such neat pans because each one is literally completely hand forged. So they're a little bit more expensive, but they really do have a lot of work and labor that go into them, and each one is different than the last one that was made. I'd love to make those in a more approachable price because they're kind of expensive right now. I'd love to make some smaller versions of those. And then we've got we got a lot of different ideas that are in the hopper. So I won't let out what we're going to make, but we've probably got, well, I can count on more than one hand how many new pieces that
Oh, that's
we've got
awesome. That's awesome.
we're designing. So that's always a lot of fun, a little bit confusing, but a lot of fun. So we definitely have more pieces. We always want to hear what people want. So send us emails at support@smithy.com or hop on Instagram and let us know what you want as well. So we always
That's
want to hear.
great. That's great.
Yeah,
But from a minimalist standpoint, a skillet and a Dutch oven's really all you have to have, and that's exactly what
right.
you offer right now in multiple sizes. So,
Yeah. I mean, the bigger sort of the lineup gets, the less impactful the next piece becomes because we've kind of made the core
yeah,
already. But we always want to have exciting new pieces
yeah,
that people can enjoy. So I'm doing that as much as we've got the pedal down on that.
that's the fun part. That's the fun.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Well, this has been wonderful. I cannot wait to have your contribution laid out in Skillet Heads, the book. It'll come out in fall of 2022. And I'll add some pictures to this video as well so folks can see how pretty the Smithy lineup really is. If you have any questions, guys, go to smithy.com and you can find me at bigsisterknows.com. So thank you so much,
Thanks, Ashley.
Isaac. I appreciate it.
You bet.